An assault caught on camera at a Salt Lake City hair salon. Coming up, why the owner says it points to deeper problems with crime in the ballpark area.
Emergency phone calls are finding a voicemail instead, all because people are calling the wrong number. We'll tell you why coming up.
Thunderstorms developing here across the state, where we'll see the impacts this evening for showers and thunderstorms, plus where we'll see some snow tonight.
You took away a brother, an uncle, a son. You took away a good person.
Tonight, the family of Utah football player Aaron Lowe speaks out about their loss, plus his sister's message of forgiveness as police search for his killer.
Governor Spencer Cox says real men join the PTA. Why some notable Utah dads are asking more men to volunteer at their children's schools.
We hoped to make it to wintertime, but we didn't.
A couple looking for snow found it here. I'll explain how that snow helped them say goodbye to their beloved pet.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9, starts right now.
A ballpark business is calling for change tonight after the owner says a homeless person assaulted two people inside a salon.
The situation, as you just saw, was caught on camera. It came out of nowhere. As Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher reports, it's just the latest issue to develop in the ballpark neighborhood.
What used to be an old auto garage is now a place of modern beauty and relaxation.
I don't care, we're still calling.
A place Randy Topham renovated a few years ago to relocate his longtime salon, Cake.
All right, excellent.
After hearing about city plans to revitalize State Street.
Still, every time I look at it, it feels like a dream when we're inside. Inside is perfect.
Now let's talk about what's going on outside.
Outside is a challenge, and it's a challenge that's getting worse. Sometimes it's just people coming in the front door and yelling and screaming obscenities at us. Sometimes it's people getting into our parking lot and doing things out there. We've had several different transient groups think that it was a good idea to come cut our power lines.
But Randy never experienced a situation like what his security cameras captured Saturday. A woman wandered in, and when Randy walked up to ask how he could help her,
and all of a sudden she roared and just jumped at me and attacked me. And then we spun into view and she fell down, and I tried to just hold her in place so she couldn't punch and kick me. She hucked up a loogie and spit all over me, and I kind of jumped up and stepped back.
A first-time salon client, he says, had to step in and help. And you can see the moment Randy says the woman shoved her hand in the client's pocket and groped him.
Randy says a lot of the people who come in are people who are just walking down the sidewalk past his salon, though he did say he's also seen issues with people camping in this parking lot.
Randy says they've called the police upwards of 10 times the past couple months about the trespassing and camping issues, even reached out to the mayor's office and city council.
I've talked to the police extensively about it, and they say that their hands are tied. They do everything that they can to... I think that so many of these transient people need our help, and I think that we need to give it to them. We can't just blindly look the other way and say leave them alone, because what you permit, you promote.
I think the important thing to remember is that being homeless is not a crime.
Police say social workers often do come out to offer resources to those experiencing homelessness. The ballpark area, they say, has been a focus for them to crack down on crime like the trespassing Randy experiences.
Our community liaison officer assigned to that area has been working very closely with the community members to identify what kind of problems they're seeing and help address those in a timely manner.
For Randy and Cake Salon, he's hoping the city and council can work on policies to address the problems as he works to keep his salon that perfect dream space, both inside and out.
I'm hoping that we can make some changes moving forward so we don't have those challenges.
In Salt Lake City, Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
In southern Utah, one person dead tonight, 4 others in critical condition after a crash with a cement truck just outside of Cedar City this morning. According to the St. George News, a white Ford Explorer was trying to turn left onto State Road 56 from Iron Springs Road when it was hit by that cement truck. The driver of the SUV was killed. The 4 passengers were taken to the hospital. The driver of the cement truck was not hurt.
Today, the family of Gabby Petito spoke publicly about the search for Brian Laundrie, as well as how they are honoring Gabby's legacy.
We don't stop, remembering Gabby and keeping her name out there and fighting for other people out there like her. She's always with us every day. She's giving us signs.
In a news conference today, the Petito family thanked everyone who kept her story alive online and on television. They say that, but they also urged people to have the same interest for all missing people. Gabby's mother and father talked about using her story to help other families facing similar tragedies.
We need positive stuff to come from the tragedy that happened. All right? We can't let her name be taken in vain.
It means a lot to me that she's touched so many lives already, and this is only 2 weeks into it, and I'm so proud of her for doing this, and we're going to keep it going. Like you said, keep the light going and help a lot of people if we can.
Gabby's family has created the Gabby Petito Foundation. They hope to help other families cope with a loved one's disappearance.
New at 9, a local fire department says they're experiencing a phone issue that's just taking up too much time.
People are calling in emergencies to the wrong phone number. Fox 13's Brian Schnee explains what firefighters need people to know about calling for help.
First responders know that time is of the essence, and seconds of downtime turn into critical seconds for emergency response.
In the case of a life-saving event, you know, we deal in a world of seconds, not even minutes.
Since they deal with seconds, not hearing about a potential emergency for 24 to 48, even 72 hours is unbelievable.
Emergency is in the eye of the beholder.
North Tooele Fire District Chief Randy Wilden says people are calling the department's administrative line after hours or over the weekend with emergency calls for help.
We've had everything from a heart attack to severe bleeding called in to that telephone number.
We'll get everything from strange odors to I've seen a car crash to my house is on fire.
The problem they're hearing multiple times each month, people are calling the wrong number with their emergency.
If there's an emergency, if you think there's an emergency, even if there might be an emergency and you're not sure, call 911.
Which is why time spent leaving a voicemail or looking up a phone number to the fire department is crucial time wasted.
If people are, for whatever reason, not calling 911, that critical moment will have passed.
So when it comes to emergencies, time is always of the essence, which is why the number you should call is 911. In Stansbury Park, Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, this exact issue happened in the North Tooele Fire District as recent as last night with someone reporting a brush fire on their administrative line. Now, you can always call your local county dispatch center's non-emergency line. If it is ever urgent, please call 911.
Depending on where you are in Utah, you may be seeing snowflakes flying. Up at Snowbird, we've seen a mix of rain and snow falling for about an hour now.
Wow, it has arrived, Allison.
Yes, I remember my first September in Utah about 10 years ago, and it was snowing in the mountains in September, and I was like, what have I gotten myself into? But here in the valleys, rainfall, a cold fall storm, noticeably cooler out there. It's not unheard of for us to be getting snow in the mountains this time of year. So we're going to keep it probably to about 8,000 feet and higher. Could drop down to about 7,500 feet. But right now, just some rain that we're seeing from Eureka up through Heber, Park City, and then some of that snow mixed in along the highest terrain. And then our temperatures for tomorrow will also be quite a bit cooler than it has been the last couple of days. 53 right now in Salt Lake, 55 in Ogden, 50 in Provo, and our wind is still gusting about 25 to 35 miles per hour for Price and Milford. The rest of us, our wind has significantly cooled down. Our wind has calmed down and our temperatures have cooled down. So snow tonight up in the mountains, our first fall storm. It's a cold one. And I'm tracking how long this will last, when we're going to see for the morning commute tomorrow if we'll have any problems as far as the weather is concerned. And then also when some more smoke's going to move into the state. Let's talk about it coming up.
We're learning new information tonight about the shooting death of a U of U football player. Coming up, why the victim's sister says she can forgive the gunman.
Utah lawmakers are being asked to pony up to fix Utah's crumbling infrastructure.
Anytime we can get a sexual predator off the streets, it's always a good day.
A convicted sex offender from Kansas on the run from U.S. Marshals, captured in Utah. How a social media post and alert citizens help track him down.
My philosophy when it comes to law enforcement is what can I do to leave every situation better than I found it?
And a sheriff's deputy going above and beyond to help one man going through a bad time at a Tooele County restaurant. The story that's positively Utah. Still ahead.
The Jazz opened up training camp today in Las Vegas. Coming up, we'll hear from the team as they get ready to start the season.
It's really, really hard right now, especially for my mom.
While the search continues for Aaron Lowe's killer, his family is in Utah making arrangements to take their beloved son's body home to Texas.
Fox 13's Eliana Sheriff spoke one-on-one with Aaron's older sister, who has forgiveness in her heart.
Why would you do that? To a family, you took away a brother, an uncle, a son. You took away a good person.
Davetta Jones, Aaron's older sister, is heartbroken and confused as to why someone shot and killed her brother. 2 days later, the case is still open and her brother's murderer is still out there.
I trust Utah Police Department, and I trust that they're doing their job. And I'm hoping that if anybody knows anything, that they will come forward.
Davetta says Aaron didn't have a mean bone in his body, and he wasn't a violent kid. That's why it's hard for her to wrap her mind around the violence Sunday morning.
You upset the world. You didn't just upset a family, you upset a world. And we just ask that you turn yourself in.
She says making it to Utah was Aaron's dream, and she says her brother didn't come here to die.
This was his dream. He wanted to play football. He wanted to go to the NFL. He just wanted to basically make his mom, his family proud. And Utah was like the best thing that happened to him.
Now she is asking for justice.
You know, we make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I forgive you, but I want justice for my brother.
I also asked Aaron's sister if she thinks the number 22 should be retired, and she answered without hesitation.
I think it should. For Ty and Aaron, they should retire it.
Davetta says if you knew Aaron, you loved him, and she didn't know just how much he was loved until he was killed.
These last couple of days, you can tell how much he was loved because people come out of nowhere and tell us how much they love him, how much, people that we've never met.
Eliana Sheriff, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Aaron's family says they are flying him home to Texas tomorrow. Salt Lake police have yet to identify a suspect. They are working several leads. They say the 20-year-old female who was shot at the party too remains in critical but stable condition.
A classic Utah restaurant that was forced to close this year, maybe making a comeback. Coachman's Dinner and Pancake House opened all the way back in 1962 and moved to its 1300 South and State Street location in 1975. But it was in April, after 60 years in business, the iconic business closed its doors for good. Now, plans for a 112-unit condominium complex on the former site includes ample space for a relaunched version of the popular eatery. According to plans filed at the Salt Lake City Hall, the new condos could be called Coachman Mixed Use.
Some water and sewer lines in Utah, critical infrastructure, are getting old and need to be replaced.
Utah lawmakers will introduce a large bill in the upcoming legislative session that addresses that. Fox 13's Ben Winslow has the details from Utah's Capitol Hill.
Lawmakers are being asked to fund a lot of critical infrastructure needs, including big water and sewer improvements.
Most of Utah's drinking water and sewage infrastructure was put into place in the 1970s and 80s, so it's reaching the end of its useful life.
Utah's Division of Water Quality says they've identified over $1 billion in needed improvements.
About 15% of Utahns are not connected to sewer. Some of those communities are contaminating the drinking water aquifers with nitrate problems, and so we want to solve those problems. We have small rural drinking water infrastructure needs and dealing with the lead in schools problem.
Here on Capitol Hill, lawmakers have received hundreds of requests for infrastructure spending totaling billions of dollars.
We put $50 million in May into this kind of pilot program. We have requests for $1.1 billion of that money.
The Utah State Legislature offered a match program where the state chips in to help communities make infrastructure improvements using American Rescue Plan Act money. Here's what they got. Nearly 450 requests with a total project cost of over $4 billion. Nearly half of it is in rural Utah, with $47 million for economic opportunities, $64 million for housing, $32 million for public health, $30 million for broadband internet expansion, and nearly $1 billion in water and sewer. The House Speaker says lawmakers are looking to expand some drought-related projects, including secondary water metering and increasing water efficiency for agriculture.
But I think you'll see more than likely that the legislature will look seriously at maybe putting more money in the future into that program, because we do think there's a lot of synergies you create when you have local government partnering with state government to solve arguably our biggest infrastructure need in the state, which is water.
On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, gosh, in a matter of a day, we went from summertime temperatures to really feeling like fall today.
Wow.
This was rain right outside of the Fox 13 News studios. Not too long ago, we were all sitting here and all of a sudden we all looked at each other and said, is that rain?
And then we found out it was really a bunch of third graders on the roof throwing marbles.
Sounded like it.
Yeah, it did. It really came down.
Right here, in the highest of elevations, though, we are seeing snow tonight.
Yes, so snow in the forecast through parts of tomorrow evening, mostly for the mountains of northeastern Utah, so like up in the Uintas through tomorrow night. But here tonight, we are seeing that snow coming down. Currently, it's snowbirds, so along the higher terrain up in the Cottonwood Canyons, right near the Salt Lake Valley, a cold front moving through the state. Temperatures right now here in Salt Lake, 53, so a cold fall storm, cooler temperatures. Below average, actually, for this time of year. We had a flash flood warning earlier today in Capitol Reef that has since expired. We also had wind advisories for northern Utah. Those were allowed to expire. But here's what we're watching right now here across the state. We are seeing areas of rain stretching from the Beaver area, just west of Beaver, all the way up through Santaquin into the Heber area and then down in central and southern Utah. Once you're south of I-70, it's mostly just scattered rain showers along the highest terrain near Loa, so the Capitol Reef area, over through Panguitch, and then down into Cedar. But nothing too widespread that's causing any issues currently. So as I mentioned, we had that flash flood warning earlier today and the wind advisory earlier today. As of 9 o'clock, everything has expired here across the state, but still have that potential for tonight's storms to pack a punch. So watching that closely for you. Compared to this time 24 hours ago, it's about 15 to 20 degrees colder for Provo, Ogden, Logan, Salt Lake right now. Same thing, Delta, Milford, Cedar City. It is noticeably cooler out there. Tomorrow when you first wake up, we'll have cloudy sky. Make sure, though, if you're sending the kids out for any sort of outdoor field trip, that you send them with a jacket. Also some sunscreen. You'll probably need some sunscreen during the second half of the day, even though it's not going to look like it first thing tomorrow morning. Our storm threat for tomorrow also brings the chance still for some more thunderstorms into southeastern Utah tomorrow. So mostly Hanksville, Green River, just south of Price, down through Moab Landing, and then over towards Tropic, Page, and then just east of Zion National Park, so through the Grand Staircase area tomorrow as well. What we're going to be tracking for you will be much cooler temperatures for tomorrow and then warming up this upcoming weekend. So tomorrow morning around freezing for Park City, Evanston, and Logan. And then Provo, Salt Lake, Ogden, it'll be about 45 degrees first thing tomorrow morning. If you do have a tea time first thing tomorrow morning, we're still going to have that chance for some scattered showers even through the morning hours tomorrow, early morning here across the Wasatch Front. We could even see a few isolated showers popping up. So it's going to be a chilly start tomorrow. Keep the umbrella handy or grab the rain jacket tomorrow morning, the warmer one, since it'll still be somewhat mild during the afternoon hours tomorrow at 5 o'clock, around 60 for Provo, Salt Lake, and Ogden. about 60 in Logan, and then we're going to be tracking that chance for some snow, mostly above about 7,500 feet tonight and into tomorrow. For St. George, you're close to 80 degrees through Thursday, then mid 80s to low 90s through the rest of the 7-day forecast. And for Salt Lake City, we're in the low 60s tomorrow, upper 60s for Thursday, and then into the mid 70s this upcoming weekend. Let's talk about how much rain we can expect tonight and how much snow we could see here across parts of the state as well. Plus, when we're going to see some more smoke arriving into Utah. We'll talk about that coming up later in the hour.
I was hoping this storm would clear out the smoke, Allison. See you soon. Still ahead, big changes coming for the Sundance Film Festival. What organizers are planning to keep people safe from COVID-19. Welcome back, everyone. Utah has run out of bar licenses again. In fact, it's gotten so bad, the state's Liquor Control Authority is complaining about it and telling people to call the legislature. The problem emerged at today's commission meeting, where there were 3 licenses and 15 businesses vying for them. So they had to decide who got them.
I believe that is not fair, but you are the commissioner.
The problem is none of it's fair.
I know.
What we'd like to do is we'd like to be able to have, how many are there, 7, 8, 15 licenses.
Well, Utah law allocates bar licenses by population quota. It's 1 license per 10,200 people. The legislature has been repeatedly asked to address it. Lawmakers tell Fox 13 News they might in 2022.
Governor Spencer Cox and the Utah Parent Teachers Association are hoping to prove that real men join the PTA.
It's okay. We're with the PTA.
Yeah, okay. No, that's not okay. Excuse me.
The PTA created this lighthearted public service announcement with a serious message. They are hoping to get more fathers involved in Utah schools and want to break stereotypes that have been associated with the PTA.
When men get involved in education, students are more likely to graduate from high school and college. Don't forget, real men join the PTA.
You heard it from his mouth. To learn more about the Parent Teachers Association and how you can get involved, go to fox13now.com.
He was definitely a danger to the public.
He escaped from a state hospital in Kansas. Coming up, how a violent fugitive was found and caught here in southern Utah.
A new FBI report shows Utah saw more murders in 2020 than ever before. Hear from the assistant special agent in charge of Utah coming up.
The Jazz open training camp, plus the running Utes start practicing. We'll hear from Craig Smith as he starts his run with the Utes.
She was just bumming about how she didn't make it through another winter and was asking like if there's only some way we could get some snow.
It's the saddest day for any pet owner. I'm John Franke in Murray. I'll explain how Salt Lake County Parks and Rec help fulfill a dog's bucket list.
A convicted sex offender who escaped from a state mental hospital in Kansas back in June has been captured in Wayne County here in Utah. John Freeman Colt was originally arrested in 2001 on counts of aggravated sexual battery, attempted rape, aggravated burglary, and 4 counts of aggravated battery against law enforcement.
Going under the name Jason Holt, he befriended people in the town of Torrey until they found out his true identity. Fox 13's Spencer Joseph has the incredible story you will only see here.
Town of Torrey at the base of Capitol Reef National Park. Everyone knows the chuck wagon.
We're just out front on the bench here at the chuck wagon, and this guy approaches us and he says, "Do you guys know of anyone that could give me any work? I'm looking to maybe get a couple $100."
The man's name, Jason Holt, or so they thought. People befriended him quickly.
He works for us for a solid 2 months. He's hanging out with us every day.
We just clicked as best friends. We drove everywhere. We explored the whole county. We did everything. And I never got that bad vibe.
That was until Monday night, when one man saw Jason's picture on the Fox 13 Facebook page on a wanted poster from the U.S. Marshal's office under the name John Colt.
Shortly before 6 p.m., I received a phone call from a citizen in Torrey. Said he'd seen this gentleman on the news.
so police jumped into action.
While we were in our staging area, coming up with a plan, to approach the camp, Mr. Colt drove by on his motorcycle.
The chase was on, leading them down State Route 24.
Speeds in excess of 100 miles an hour. Deputy Gully was able to get ahead of him, blocked him in, and he pulled over and surrendered.
And I mean, it was 4 hours from my phone call to Sheriff Jensen to the time he was captured.
We spoke with the man who made the connection, who didn't want to be on TV, but showed us where he frequently stayed. This is one of the places that he stayed when he was here.
Yeah, so he would work here every day, go in there to cool off. We got a recliner in there. I was like, well, I mean, you've been hanging out in the shed. You're more than welcome to stay in there.
Inside this cabin is where he slept.
Right. So that recliner there behind you, that would be his bed for, multiple nights.
Those we talked to shared this video of Colt dancing. Pay attention to the shirt, because it's the same one on the wanted poster from the U.S. Marshal's office. All of this was hard to believe for the man who says they became best friends.
But he was going to birthday parties with me and fishing with me, and he just acted as a normal guy.
But there was one thing.
It kind of did click to me because he mentioned that he had kids in Kansas. And I'm like, well, why don't you contact your kids? It's like, it seems more important just to stay away from the kids.
Colt is now behind bars in Sevier County.
He was definitely a danger to the public.
Thanks to the hard work of law enforcement.
Anytime we can get a sexual predator off the streets, it's always a good day.
We did talk with the Grand County Sheriff's Office about the murders of Kylene Schulte and Crystal Turner. They say they are aware of Mr. Colt, and separately they're following up on any leads or tips as a part of that homicide investigation, but not yet tying those two together. Of course, we'll keep you updated. In Torrey, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Salt Lake police have arrested a man for aggravated assault after an incident following an East High School football game. Police say 18-year-old Leonardo Lopez got in a fight with a woman near the high school on September 17th before a high school student intervened. During the fight, Lopez pulled out a gun and hit the student in the head with it. He took off before police arrived. Salt Lake police say school resource officers played a critical role in Lopez's arrest. New numbers from the FBI show Utah saw more murders in 2020 than any year since they started counting in 1960.
And Bob, that does reflect a national spike in homicides. Going in depth tonight, Fox 13's Max Roth learned there are a couple things that help put Utah's numbers into perspective.
I think everybody knows there's been an increase in violence, right, and in gun violence across the country.
Murder up 30% nationally, 24% in Utah. That's 92 murders in 2020, the highest number on record. Disheartening, but less so with perspective. Per 100,000 residents, Utah lost 2.9 lives to murder. Nationally, the murder rate was 5.4 in 100,000. So how does that compare to other causes of death in Utah? Drug overdoses claimed 19 deaths per 100,000. And in the last 3 months of 2020, COVID-19 was claiming 134 lives per 100,000. Other data may be more deceiving for Utah. Property crime declined nationally, but it went up in Utah. It could be because a lot more Utah police sent information to the feds.
In Utah, for example, we have 91% of the population is covered in the reporting from law enforcement agencies, whereas in 2019, we had 77%. So that could also be part of the uptick in the crime statistics you mentioned.
Another thing we've talked about on air is Utah's deceptively dense population. We are growing faster than any state, and the 4 counties on the Wasatch Front make up 75% of Utah's population, living on 4% of Utah's land. In the newsroom, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
If you would like to attend the Sundance Film Festival next year, you will need to mask up and also be fully vaccinated. This mandate applies to all in-person guests, employees, and participating artists. Masks will be required in all indoor areas, which include temporary structures like tents and in any outdoor lines.
Natural gas prices are soaring around the country. Coming up, we'll show you how Utah is being affected.
Plus, the housing market is still hot, but not everywhere is considered a good buy. The places where housing is now overvalued. Well, you certainly know the pandemic upended the housing market with prices soaring and making buying a home a challenge for so many people. But in some cities, housing prices may be higher than they should be because of low inventory. A team of researchers from Florida Atlantic University recently looked back at 26 years of housing data in 100 housing markets. Now, they compared the historic rise in home prices to where they would be expected to be today to see which markets are overvalued. Of the 100 housing markets they looked at, Ogden, Provo, and Salt Lake City were in the top 10 overvalued housing markets. Now, the good news here is for sellers, of course, but not so much for prospective home buyers.
If I was moving to those markets, I would worry about buying at the peak of the cycle. I would probably be prone, even though rent prices might be high, I would be prone to want to rent.
Yeah, it's been a challenge for so many people. Meantime, housing markets in cities like Honolulu, Hawaii, Virginia Beach, Baltimore, New York City, and New Orleans were considered some of the least overvalued housing markets. All places are considered, however, a good buy right now.
Some Americans may have to bundle up indoors this winter. The cost of natural gas around the country is up more than 180% over the last year because of a drawdown of surplus inventory in the wake of major power outages in Texas and production interruptions from Hurricane Ida. Natural gas heats most U.S. homes and is also the main fuel used to power the U.S. power grid. But Dominion Energy says customers here in Utah won't see nearly the increase other places will.
Can you give us a ballpark figure of what Utah customers can expect after that Friday filing?
Well, I wish I could, but I don't know for sure. Now, I would say it definitely won't be triple digits, I hesitate to say this, but if it's double digits, it won't be far into double digits.
Historically, Dominion Energy has had some of the lowest natural gas prices in the country. Porter says that's because it produces more than half of the natural gas it sells. The company will file a request to adjust its rates with the Public Service Commission on Friday, and of course, we will keep you posted on what the commission rules.
Still ahead, it may be the smallest medical lab in the world, and it was made by a team of researchers at BYU. How it could change the way some conditions are diagnosed.
The Jazz started training camp today. Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell will tell us how day one was different than in previous years. And we'll check in with the running Utes and hear from the new head coach, Craig Smith, at the team's first practice.
In technology, the smaller, the better. Researchers at BYU are proving that theory with a new technology they're calling a lab on a chip. The coin-sized microchip is designed to sort out and analyze disease biomarker cells and other things from samples of liquids such as blood. Researchers were able to make this lab on a chip device using a new 3D printer.
In our research, what we're looking at is taking biomedical laboratories and shrinking them down to a little tiny chip. And so this is called lab on a chip.
The hope is this device can be used to diagnose medical conditions sooner and develop treatments for other conditions.
Now to a story that's positively Utah. What began as a scary situation at a local restaurant in Tooele ended with a positive twist. A Tooele County Sheriff's deputy, they were called to the Lake Point Denny's after a waitress says a customer had made some alarming claims. Deputy David Penrod sat down and talked with the man and helped calm him down. The deputies realized the man was having a mental health crisis and helped get him to the hospital. However, as they were leaving, they realized the customer just was not able to pay his bill. That's when Deputy Penrod stepped in to help again.
I think if anybody in this profession told you they were in it for the money, they'd be lying to you. We're in it to be put in a position where we can help people, because whether or not we've needed help in our lives and we've seen, you know, what a positive impact from someone can do.
What a great guy. Deputy Penrod has only been on patrol for about 9 months. He says he is just happy for the opportunity to serve the people of Tooele County. Thank you so much, Deputy Penrod.
Tooele County's finest. Well, it's a moment every pet owner dreads, the time when our furry friends leave us. One Utah family is feeling that pain, but they aren't experiencing it alone.
Fox 13's John Franke shows us how a small act of kindness allowed a beloved dog to enjoy the snow one final time.
Absolutely kept us together. There was a lot of times when that was our unifying factor. And
This is Maggie.
she's just the best dog.
This weekend, her owners Elijah Saltzgaber and Mariana Wilson were faced with the toughest of decisions.
We hoped to make it to wintertime, but we didn't.
After months of battling cancer, they realized it was time to free Maggie from her pain.
We made the decision to take her camping, take her paddleboarding, get her blissfully tired, and see her off in the most compassionate, peaceful, calm way.
In the weeks before the hardest of goodbyes, they composed a bucket list, experiences to make the most out of her final days.
We went up to McCall, Idaho, where we got married, and she was our ring bearer.
But one item on that list just seemed impossible.
She was just bumming about how she didn't make it through another winter and was asking like if there's only some way we could get some snow.
Maggie loved the snow.
She would just frolic and sled on her back like a little toboggan.
But there just isn't much of it in Utah these days.
Somebody suggested ice skating rinks.
Elijah called Tiffany King at the Salt Lake County Ice Center.
I said, well, I think we can help you out.
You see, in this building,
We have 2 Zambonis that we rotate and use consistently.
there's no shortage of the one thing Maggie's owners needed. Every day, as Zamboni smooths the ice, it collects pounds and pounds of ice shavings that usually just go down the drain. Monday, they served a different purpose.
Piled up in buckets and bins. And
Elijah took them home, and Maggie spent one final day in the snow.
Bittersweet is a word that we keep coming up with. It's hard, but it's tender, it's good.
Now Elijah, Mariana, and Tiffany are forever connected.
the small acts of service can make such a big difference.
To see people from all walks of life come together for our dog. I mean, that's amazing.
A small act, letting Elijah and Mariana know they aren't grieving their loss alone.
She touched us, and now she gets to touch so many other people, and that's the best way for her memory to live on, I think.
Through social media, Maggie's story has gone viral. People from as far away as the UK and the Netherlands have reached out to share their condolences and also express how they feel connected to these dog owners' special love for their pet. In Murray, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, if that's not the sweetest but saddest thing, oh my goodness. Well, hey, let's go ahead and transition into weather. If you want to get outside and go for a walk tomorrow morning, know that it's going to be a chilly start, and we also have a few showers out there this evening. And speaking of snow, we do have some snow coming down right now along the highest terrain in the Cottonwood Canyons and also up in the Uintas. Most of our lightning right now is east of Price and Highway 6, south of Vernal, so into rural parts of eastern Utah. Now, here along the Wasatch Front this evening, we have had a little bit of rain, and what we're seeing currently, some light rain, kind of spotty from about Brigham City down through Draper. And then once you get into Provo, down through Santaquin, that's where we're seeing some more of our rainfall right now, all the way into eastern Nevada and west of Cedar City. So for the rest of tonight, I'm tracking temperatures that'll be in the 40s eventually. So tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., 47 here in Salt Lake City. We'll have cloudy sky to start the morning tomorrow, and then by tomorrow afternoon, we will become partly cloudy to mostly sunny, and our temperatures will rise to about 60 degrees tomorrow here in Salt Lake. So it's going to be quite a bit cooler over the next few days than it was a few days ago. Now our overnight temperatures 7 a.m. mid-40s for Provo, Salt Lake, and Ogden, and then by tomorrow afternoon it'll be a very nice but cooler day. Salt Lake City 62 degrees, Ogden 60, Provo 60, the chance for a few of those spotty showers still tomorrow morning. Now for Cedar City 62, Ridgefield 60 with a chance for morning rain, St. George around 80 tomorrow with partly cloudy sky. Moab 67, some morning thunderstorms. Price 60 degrees, and for Vernal 51 tomorrow. Now, a line of thunderstorms could develop tonight from eastern Nevada all the way up to the Wasatch Front. What we've been seeing from this has mostly just been a rainfall in the valleys, but we have the potential for this line of thunderstorms through midnight to bring some moderate rainfall to parts of the Salt Lake Valley, even up towards the Wasatch back. Now, we'll take you through 8 a.m. tomorrow. We still have the chance for some showers and thunderstorms across central Utah and even parts of the Wasatch Front. So cloudy skies, Salt Lake when you wake up tomorrow morning. Keep the umbrella handy. Now, let's talk about rain projection for the next 2 days. Bulk of this will be arriving tonight and into early tomorrow. But it looks like the highest terrain of northeastern Utah, so the Uintas could see more than ½ of an inch of rain. The rest of us mostly less than ½ of an inch of rain. We also are going to end up with some snow along the highest terrain, and so this is potentially up to 6 inches of snow even up into the Uintas. So spotty areas of snow, and then middle of the week we start seeing a little bit of smoke moving in from Idaho by tomorrow night. So still stay air quality aware if you're planning on exercising outdoors. Now, St. George tomorrow 80. You're close to 85 through Saturday, and then we're closer to 90 degrees into early next week. For Salt Lake City, low 60s tomorrow, 67 for Thursday, and the 70s do return, and we're closer to average by Sunday.
It was the first day of training camp for the Jazz in Las Vegas. The core group has been together for a while now, and with the veterans they brought in, they're off and running on day one.
We didn't spend too much time on teaching much stuff. You know, normally in training camp you spend a good amount of time just walking around and you know, going through detail after detail. With the vets we brought in, we were allowed to just skip all that and just go straight to, you know, live action or, you know, working on different things that can kind of expedite, you know, our situations as a team. So having that kind of group is huge.
Guys have stepped up in a big way, and you know, I think that's what's great is because we've taken that. I see it. You see the work. You know, and obviously it's the first day. You know, it's easy to say that, but you know, I can tell it's a different mindset, different vibe about the group, and I think we just got to continue to have that throughout the whole season. Not just start off early or not just do it later. Do out the full 82 in the playoffs.
BYU will play Notre Dame next season in Las Vegas on October 8th. At Allegiant Stadium, the home of the Las Vegas Raiders. BYU beat Arizona in Las Vegas to start this season. A lot of BYU fans were there, so you can bet there'll be plenty of fans in blue to watch the Cougars play Notre Dame. Today was the first day of practices for the Utah men's basketball team, with first-year head coach Craig Smith leading the way after a great run at Utah State. The Utes returned 7 players, but only 2 that averaged more than 7 minutes a game, along with a lot of new faces on the roster, including a couple of former Aggies. Craig Smith says he wants to bring back the running Utes to Utah.
Our identity is we want to be sound, tough, and I don't want to be all cliche-ish, but we want to be a tough team, tough-minded, tough physically, very sound and disciplined, and play together. Over the last 3 years, we were number 3 in the country in assists on the season, number 6 in the country in assists, number 12 in the country in assists. So I want to bring running Utes back by sharing the ball, moving the ball, playing together, and then we got to be tough physically and mentally on both sides of the ball.
The Utah Grizzlies announced Ryan Kanasowicz as their new head coach today. After serving as an assistant the last 4 years, he's a great player for the Grizzlies, the team's all-time record holder in goals, assists, and points, but he wants to bring a defensive mindset to this team.
I think our biggest thing in this league, we wanted to focus on building from our net out, and I think we're going to see that this year in the team that we have. We're going to have really good goaltending and a really strong D-core. I really want to be a high-octane offense, obviously, with taking care of our own end first.
All right, we'll be right back.
Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
Stick around, Quickcast is next.